So hello and welcome back to Exploring Azeroth with Onyx and Beryl. We are starting with Onyx today, and it occurred to me that some people don't know who Onyx and Beryl are. They're just some characters that I have. And we are exploring the Howling Fjord today, and we are beginning with Camp Winterhoof. Camp Winterhoof is a Tanuka village that's located in the northern edge of Howling Fjord, just below Grizzly Hills. And it's a Tanuka village, as you can see, and that Tanuka was wearing a wolf mask, which really took me aback for a minute or two. It is also where Cyclothar, a giant air elemental, is being tamed, and you get to help. You know, that's kind of cool. It's always cool when you get to help do something. Now, just a little bit north of there is, and I'm going to completely mess this up, Jallarhorn. I probably butchered that, but that's okay. It is a mountain, and evidently there is a gnome helicopter up top that I wish I would have known about. Also in the Howling Fjord, we have the Twisted Glade, the Frozen Glade, and the Verdant Glade, which are all areas that the Twisted Glade has been corrupted, but the Snowy Glade over here hasn't, and it is where you can help the fawns as they try to keep back the corruption. You can also watch them have snowball fights. It's kind of cute. Now, moving on towards the coast, we're going to go over Giant's Run and the Broken Bluffs, which are the cliffs that take you down to, and I don't know if this cave actually has a name, but it's a cool cave. It's got some Vrukal in it, and they're eating stew, and it made me hungry when I saw it. You can also come over here and check out your very own Forsaken warship. It's a little bit creepy looking, but that's okay. I mean, I'm not going to complain too much. You don't get too many Forsaken ships. Now we're going to be heading towards Vengeance Landing, but before we go to Vengeance Landing, we're actually going to land and check out the fishing trainer, but after that, we're going to go over to the Derelict Strand, and it's where a lot of Horde players took their first steps into Northrend. So you would land, and you would do these crazy missions where you're flying on a bat to bomb these ships, and then you help the archers and do all sorts of stuff like that. There's also a lot of sunken ships. I swam around a lot, but I didn't find anything too crazy down below the water, so I cut that part out because I was like, this video is going to be long no matter what I do. Now, Vengeance Landing is really cool. It is the military outpost for the Hand of Vengeance. It's just northeast of Daggercap Bay and Utgard Keep, and it's where you would show up and fight against the Alliance who ambushed you. Evidently the Alliance had a small camp just outside of its walls, and that's where we're fighting. I also really like it because, well, I complain a lot about Horde architecture, I always kind of get a kick out of Forsaken architecture. Now, granted, you could say that Forsaken architecture is just human architecture with a few more skulls and a few more cobwebs, but it's still kind of cool. It's got that whole dark gothic vibe, and I kind of like it. I think it's one of the reasons why I like Worgen architecture so much, and really hope that when we retake Gilneas, it becomes a more vibrant city. You know, it's just kind of a cool aesthetic, and I'm not going to complain about that. Also, when Lordaeron got bombed back into non-existence, the Zeppelin that used to go from Beryl to Vengeance Landing obviously no longer works, but there is a portal. So you can still get here. It's just not quite as long of a trip, I guess. You end up back by Zadormi, and then, you know, you have to do the whole wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey thing, but it is what it is. Now, just outside of Vengeance Landing is the first of many, 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 many lifts that are all over Howling Fjord. I can't remember if they're in a lot of the other Northrend areas. I'm going to have to keep an eye out for them, but I do know that I died to the lifts. It's like the standard joke about the elevator bosses. These lifts, for whatever reason, when I first started playing World of Warcraft, were always my elevator boss, because I didn't have flying. I didn't have flying for a long time. Flying used to be expensive. So, yeah. I think there's either 4 or 5 lifts that are throughout the Howling Fjord. Plus, there's the ancient lift where you get to take a boat ride. A boat through the sky. It's kind of fun. But for old time's sake, I figured I would ride the lift. Even if I can fly now. As we head on our way to Baelheim, which is the first of many, many, many Vrukal towns, cities. I'm not sure if you would call it a town or a city. But this one is being sieged by Horde forces, and you get to help out. There's a lot of fun quests that go through here. I do remember back during Wrath of the Lich King dying to these a lot because I thought that they were very, very complex. Now they're not so much. But you have to set fire to the village, you have to assassinate leaders. It's a lot of fun. And I think one of the very last things you end up having to do is kill the Chieftain Bjorn's dragon to kind of lure him out. I always thought that was kind of neat. It's a very fun quest. Also, no matter how much I go on and on about Grizzly Hills music, I have to give a shout out to the Howling Fjord music as well, because it's just good. I say that right as the music kind of dies down. Oh well. You know, my timing is not always impeccable. Now, like I said, there's a lot of Vrukal villages around, and the Vrukal are really, they're kind of cool. You know, they avoided the curse of flesh by sleeping, which is always fun. Okay, now this place is cool. This is Baelgun's excavation site, and according to Modern Bronzebeard, the statue right here is taller than one of Stormwind Keep's towers. I thought that was cool. Also, fun little trivia fact from Wowopedia. The Titan statues used to be making the devil's horns symbol, like heavy metal symbol, and it was changed to like a hang loose sign. I thought that was funny. You know, dumb things that make me happy. Alright, we're gonna stop briefly at the Ghostblade post. It's just a little small Forsaken outpost. Nothing exciting about it, but I wasn't sure when I was touring through here if there was any cool trivia about it, so I checked it out, and no cool trivia. just yet another little Forsaken outpost, which is on its way to the big draw of Howling Fjord for most people, and that is Utgard Keep. It's the location of two, count them, 2 dungeons. That's a lot of dungeons. Well, okay, it's not really, but look. Let me dream. I also really like the giant skull in the side of Utgard Keep. I think it's kind of cool looking. Utgard Keep has a lake at its feet and a waterfall tumbling down the cliffs. It's inhabited by the Vrukal and led by King Yimron. He is trying to prove the Vrukal strength to the Lich King, and we beat him. I mean, spoiler alert, we beat him. It's a fun dungeon, though. It also has, I think, one of my favorite rooms. It's got this big old map room inside and a treasure room. Definitely like both of those. Now, not too far away is Halgrind, which is where the Forsaken decided to test out their newest batch of the Blight. Gotta love our newest batch of the Blight. And we do see the results of that when we head to the Wrathgate. Now, not too far away from there is New Amgand. And I'm butchering the pronunciation, but I butcher every pronunciation, so that's just life, you know? And it's kind of an interesting little thing because they poisoned their own land while testing out the Blight. And that's why New Amgrand is so brown and yucky, even though it has probably the nicest inn of all of the Horde side stuff, with the exception of the Horde Inn in Dalron. So that's your fun fact for the day. Honestly, I do have to say, for a Horde area, it's kind of a nice inn. You just have to kind of ignore the coffins in your room. But other than that, beautiful place. Alright, we are going to head out of here in just a minute, and we're heading up towards Shield Hill, which is an ancient Vrukal burial ground. And at some point during the war against the Lich King, the North Sea freebooters stole artifacts from the graves of Shield Hill, which, you can imagine, did not make the ghosts all that happy. All of the artifacts were later restored by adventurers, but by then it ended up being too late. When you're adventuring with the Tuskar, you have to get the frozen heart of Isuldorf. You have to get the Staff of Storm's Fury, the Shield of Astredes, and the ancient armor of the Cavadal. I cannot say that word. Cavadur? Yeah, you can tell I'm not Norwegian. But yeah, it's a fun quest chain, and honestly, I think almost every character that I level, I always get my rep as high as I can with the Tuskar. Just because the Northrend quests, well, questionable at times, are also a lot of fun. So, after we wrap up here, we're going to be moving on to that lift I told you about, the Ancient Lift, which is kind of unique among the other lifts that you run across in Howling Fjord. in that you have a really, really cool, I mean, Wowopedia calls it a gondola. I always just called it a cool Viking ship that you get to glide on and make your way down to the Tuskar village down below. Now, according to Wowopedia, this is obviously a lift of Vrukal design, but the Tuskar aren't shy about using it to get up onto the cliffs whenever they need to go hunting, which I think is kind of funny. I also think it's a really cool looking lift. And I think it was the very first time I actually saw Tuskar, because if I'm remembering correctly, I came on my very first character to Northrend via Howling Fjord. And so, yeah, Howling Fjord actually has a lot of good memories for me. I do appreciate that in Dragonflight, we actually now have female Tuskar. They're kind of cool. They make me happy. So there was the gondola. And this is interesting because I don't remember exactly what, but there is a quest here that has you digging up something, and I think it's for the Vrukal quest chain that has you going and getting the treasures, trying to put the spirits to rest. But I don't remember, so let me know if I'm right or wrong. But here we are in Kamuga. Kamuga is where the Tuskar went after Iskar, their original village, got overrun by pirates, and they need you to help them get a little bit of vengeance on the pirates, and that will help you build up some reputation with them. I always do Tuskar rep. I've always loved the Tuskar, and back in Wrath of the Lich King, I actually spent a lot of time fishing, and back then your fishing pole actually mattered, so I spent a lot of time farming to get the Tuskar fishing pole. I think I still have it on my original main. Also, I just absolutely love the fact that you can ride a boat for free as long as you don't mind riding on the back of a turtle who's being lured by a carrot on a stick. Makes me happy. Now, you also are going to check in with the pirates here while aiding your Tuskar allies. They're going to send you over here to Iskal to take out one of the pirates on that boat over there, and then you're going to go across the Twin Shores, where, if you didn't know, one of the Northrend rares is quite often on the beach. He wasn't here today, but oh well, and that's King Ping. And then you're going to be going all the way to Scallywag Point, which is the little local pirate area, and it's the home of Silver Moon Harry. Silver Moon Harry is hilarious. He's kind of obsessed with blood elves. He's so obsessed that he will not even speak to his girlfriend unless she's wearing a blood elf mask. It makes me laugh. You also get to help out that troll back there by squeezing some toads, and you have to do a few things for Handsome Terry. The funniest thing about all of the pirates at Scallywag Point is the fact that they all seem to be old models still, which makes me wonder if they're all going to get an update in, what would it be, the Last Titan when we go back to Northrend? Crossing my fingers for that, because yeah, Olga is looking kind of bad. So Annie there actually becomes the leader of the Scallywag Pirates after we do a little bit of questing for her. Also, if you want to do the dailies with the Tuskar, you need to take the quest from this gnome here. If you don't take the quest from the gnome, then you won't get the repeatable daily for reputation. But the former Pirate King is Mad Jonah Sterling, who honestly has the best hideout in Northrend, I think. And it's kind of a quiet place, so if you're looking for a cave to hole up in and your own cool little ruined tower, it's right there. But yeah, Mad Jonah, he is holding the frozen heart of Iseldorf. It's kind of driven him crazy. He's living in the cave with his bear Hosier. And when you wound him, he thinks that his bear's gonna save him, but instead his bear eats him. It makes me laugh. It makes me laugh a lot. So that's about it for the island there, but it's a really fun quest chain. So we're gonna head on over up to the Chilmere coast. It's inhabited by scourged murlocs. You've got some quests there on either side, Horde or Alliance, but yeah, they're kind of creepy, and you kind of end up feeling bad for them after a while. And then we are going to finish up at the apothecary camp, where of course we are working on yet more blight, because it wouldn't be the Wrath of the Lich King Horde side quests if we weren't working on some blight. Anyway, we're going to be switching over to Beryl here in just a second, and we are going to be heading on over to Westguard Keep, which, in my biased opinion, except for the fact that it's right by Whisper Gulch, is one of the coolest little places in Northrend. It has the house that I always say is my house, since Blizzard won't give us player housing. It's got my house in it. You even have a well outside and some nice fresh turkeys walking around whenever you want a roasted turkey. Can't beat that. Anyway, little tour of one of my favorite houses in Northrend. It's kind of a cross between Worgen or architecture and Dwarven, and it just makes me happy. The inn is also quite nice, and there's speculation that the dwarf statue that is right there in the center is actually supposed to be Modron Bronzebeard, because evidently there's a little bit of speculation as to where Arthas actually landed in Warcraft 3, and I guess it's been retconned several times. So, interesting. You know, I can't claim to be the best at lore, but lore is something that I love watching people talk about. Me, I'm a simple person. Give me a nice balcony where I can have breakfast, and I'm good for a long time. Another fun thing here in Westguard Keep is they actually have a dungeon, which makes me just happy as can be. A lot of the keeps on the Alliance side have dungeons. This one happens to be holding a Verukal, you know? And it looks like all of the Westguard defenders are required to keep him from going mad. Speaking of going mad, people that went mad are over here in Whisper Gulch, where if you do the quests here, Horde or Alliance side, eventually you'll start getting whispers. And it turns out that they're from, I guess, Yogg-Saron. Now, I have been told that if you swim around in the water under Whisper Gulch, you can actually find, like, tentacles of Yogg-Saron. I don't know that I've ever seen it, and I've done a lot of swimming down there, kind of thinking that I was seeing something, but I'm not sure. So let me know if you've ever seen old Yogg-Saron under Whisper Gulch. Also, I just feel so bad for the mules. Like, you got all these crazed dwarves. The guys at Westguard Keep thought that it was the beer that made them mad. The Forsaken weren't sure what made them mad. They just knew that you were going to collect brains for them. But personally, I just felt bad for the mules. Not too far away from Whisper Gulch is the Ember Clutch, which is an area that is perpetually on fire. And evidently it was once a peaceful place where proto-dragons laid their eggs and raised their young without issue. But when the Vrukal woke up, that kinda all changed, and now it's just perpetually on fire. It's a good place to quest, though, which I feel like is something I say about everything. It's a good place to quest, though. Speaking of good places to quest, Wormskull Village, if you are on the Alliance side, is kind of awesome. You've got a lot of really fun quest chains there. And you have Valgard. Valgard is the first place that you would end up if you were on the Alliance side and you left Menethil Harbor on the boat. You would end up here in the Howling Fjord and doing a bunch of quests. I think I remember an underwater quest here. They've got another lovely inn with another lovely balcony that you can sit on and take your tea. It was also the place back in the day where I used to go just killing turkeys left, right, and sideways because it always made me laugh that when you shoot turkeys in World of Warcraft, they're instantly cooked, and I kind of wish that that was a real life thing. You know, shoot a turkey, end up with roasted turkey instantly. Works for me. So, in honor of that, let's shoot a turkey. Plus the gobble gobble noise that they make when you shoot them makes me laugh. Can't help it. I'm a weirdo. At least sometimes. Now, I also remember dying several times to the sharks in Daggercap Bay. But I always liked it because when you came on the boat, you would come through this little cave area. And I always thought that this would be the coolest place if World of Warcraft ever gave us tents to pitch a tent. Now we're gonna zip on by Utgard Keep yet again on our way to Caldros Isle, which is where the Howling tribe of Wolvar are based, and I'm mostly pointing it out because for whatever reason, this is always the place on the map that I had the hardest time finding when I was doing the exploration. So if you're looking for it, it's just outside of Utgard Keep. And our last place that we are going to be going is Fort Wildervar, where they're having a little bit of trouble in their mine. They've got a big old Yeti down there. And that's one of the first things that you do for them is go down and take care of the Yeti. It looks like some of the miners, at least, aren't being bothered, but it sounds like a lot of the other miners are. I just kind of like the Yeti because he looks so peaceful. You have to go get some goat meat and lure him in, wake him up so that you can kill him. I almost feel bad for him. I probably shouldn't. Fort Wildervar also has a mystery inside. I'm not exactly sure why there is a mule inside of this inn, but there's a mule in the inn. I don't even know how the mule got in the inn, but it makes me laugh. So I'm guessing that either Gavin there or his wife just really didn't want to leave the mule outside where maybe the Yeti could get him. I don't know. Makes me laugh, though. It's also a very nice inn. Got a nice little bedroom, cute little area upstairs. It's a typical Alliance inn in that it's cozy and nice. There's also another house kind of like the one back in the fort. So if you're looking for a little more of a snowy vibe, there is a house up here for you. If you're into mountain sports. Pretty much a carbon copy of the one back at Westguard Keep. But it's always good to have options. And that is pretty much everything today. I'm sure, as always, I probably missed a bunch of stuff. And before we go, we're going to go up here and we are going to hang out with some really cute spotted hippogriff hatchlings. I think that they're adorable. Now, next week, we are going to be moving on to Dragonblight. So, Beryl, show us where Dragonblight is, please. You'd think that I could sync up my recording with the screen, but no, not always. Anyway, we're moving on to Dragonblight next week. Thank you for coming along with me. Leave me a thumbs up if you don't mind. Hit that subscribe button, because it's free, and I'll see you next time.